Hey Craig, what's up, buddy? What's shaking? How are we doing tonight? Not much. Hey, I'll come down out of the trees. What's up there, Mr. Great White Ape? Mr. Great White Ape, what other shows do you watch? Like on YouTube and elsewhere? Like, what other people, influencers do you follow? I'm curious. Just very curious about that. Jason, of course, right? Any others? Same thing for you, Craig. I'm curious, what other people do you guys check out or listen to? Red Ice, excellent resource. Um, I try to hear what? Have you guys, I mean, there's a lot of different resources out there. Um, I remember when I first became racially awake and I was just eating up as much as I could find, you know. And I went through different phases. I watched like every Richard Spencer interview, and then watched every what do you call it? Jared Taylor interview, and got into just a variety. Of course, there was uh, National Justice (NJP). I was never a huge like Mike Enoch guy. I mean, not totally. I'm not like against him or anything like that. It's just wasn't really my flavor for whatever. I don't know. It's just different people out there. Martin Balo, I think, is one of the great guys out there with his wife Emily Yukas. They do good stuff. I definitely watched a lot of content from Joel Davis. Yeah, there's just a lot of different people. Of course, Mark Collette. I think all of us should be plugged into Mark Collette and what he does. It's a good guy. You know. I went through a phase where I was really into Greg Johnson and Countercurrents. Um, and then there's just a variety of shows. You got Morgoth. You got I think is it Black Pill Speaks or something. He's got like a black pigeon on his YouTube. It's like his icon. I forget his name. Keith Woods, is always very informative. I researched and explored Mark Brahman's work pretty deeply. Racial esoteric moralization, Apolloism. I would definitely say that had a big impact on my art in terms of the understanding of how art is like a kind of cultural warfare, I guess. That the narratives of a people are really, 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 really important, and you have to protect them. And as an artist, you have a certain role, in society in regard to that. It's very important. Ulfric is here. Rebecca H.R. Graves is doing a new show who went by the handle Blonde in the Belly of the Beast. I don't know her. Maybe I do. Maybe if I saw her face, I might know. Hello to Amir Hossein Jahangard, my new favorite job. What is that? What are you referring to? Watching my show? Let's read on. Hail Donald, thank you for coming. Anything UFO, I'm big into UFO content. Um, Craig says, I think me, Yiz, Jason Red Eyes are good balance. Event, though it has been a minute since I checked, sorry, Red Eyes. Red Ice is always solid, always dependable. Jason is good for being strict on verbiage and narrative. I did used to watch Marcoletta, if I am spelling his name correctly, yes. Um, Watching my show is your favorite new job, really? Amir, are you an artist? What's your gig, man? Introduce yourself to my community here. What do you got going on? What else? I believe we have. Is Splattercat with us here? He's my guy. He's not on yet. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Is Mark Brahman on YouTube? Well, you could probably find interviews with him on YouTube. He doesn't have like a quote YouTube show. Mark is a close personal friend of mine, actually. We worked on a comic book called The Seraph, which is still on Amazon. You can get that if you're interested. Um, Mark's a controversial figure. I think people love or hate him. I don't know why they're so passionate about loving or hating him per se. I mean, he's a really intelligent guy. He's very well spoken, and he's come up with his own theories on a variety of topics. He is very much for the resurrection of the Roman gods as a kind of restoring Western man, restoring whites, into a more natural, organic state. Naturally, Christians are not going to like that. Um, I guess pagans have their own thing. To me, the Roman gods is just Roman paganism. It's just I don't like the word paganism. I don't mean it in a condescending or derogatory way. I would just say indigenous religions is more a proper term, because I respect them highly and do see an importance, in terms of how that plays a role in our history, our identity, our health, our victory. It's something I want to learn more about. Anyway, excuse me. So Brahman has this concept of racial esoteric moralization. That's a pretty deep concept, racial esoteric moralization. So what it is the use of the arts and media to reprogram whites to become the kind of the slaves that we are, and like the people who are compliant with the Jew world order, all of that garbage. So deep stuff. Some of it's a bit unnerving, I would actually say, in terms of like taking a really hard, painful, honest look at who we are, where we've come from, what we've lost, and hopefully how to regain our former glory. There's a meme out there about like, is what is it like? Is Israel for the Jews or for the Palestinians? And the meme goes, no, it's for Rome. You know, so like, because that was Roman property at one point, and I'm like, yeah, that's that right there is an example of taking your own side. Repeat that: taking your own side, which is what we must do for ourselves. Aryan polytheism. That, see now, okay, screenshot that. Aryan polytheism. That is beautiful to me. That's a very, very beautiful thing. Um, Here's the thing. I heard this phrased recently that like truth doesn't win by being forced on people. It wins by being the truth. You know what I'm trying to say? And so if we look at various ideologies through time and how they came into power through force, through killing people because they wouldn't go along with or believe it. That's not a that's not convincing to me. They're like, oh yeah, oh this is the truth because look, everybody's doing it. Well, everybody's doing it because they killed everybody who wouldn't comply. It's not the fucking, you understand what I'm trying to say. That's dark. It's very, very dark. Um, So I don't know. I'm not a historian, unfortunately. I can't. I know what I know, and I can speak somewhat on various topics of this kind. But I don't know. Interesting to talk about anyway. Regarding Brahmins, let me go back here. I want to hear Tormoko Ito. Konnichiwa, Tormoto. Hajimemashite. How are you? Do you speak Japanese? Nihongo hanashimasu ka? Let's have a little chat in Japanese. Um, Amir, where are you from, Amir? Jahangard, talk to us. Share something about yourself. Craig says, was Keith Woods on Red Ice a long time ago? He's been on everything. He's been around a lot. He's a big guy. Spider Cat is detoxing from catnip. Okay, you're funny. What else? Spider Cat is still at his other job. He should quit that other job and stay here. Okay, give me his boss's phone number. I'll make that arrangement. Gnostic, very important. Mouthful, stay da da. Sounds like it will be interesting development, kind of like addressing our collective blood memory. Now you're onto something there. The collective blood memory. It's so cool when you become aware of a like kind of a new concept or something interesting or exciting. Even though you don't know much about it, you can feel sort of invigorated by it. And that's kind of how I feel about concepts like blood memory, the biospirit. Just the term, the dialectic biospirit is so very, very powerful, and we need to be creating, dialectic. So like that, what you said before, what was it, Aryan polytheism? Is it Aryan? I don't remember. Um, this is the kind of thing we need to be doing a lot more of. Of course, the Marxists are masters at that. They're really, really, really smart at controlling dialect or controlling the conversation, narrative, etc. And obviously, that's done a great deal of harm to us over time. They've been able to convince kind of low IQ people who feel rejected by the system or they've failed to compete in the system in some way or another. I have a very kind of eugenic view of like everybody in the ethno state has to be taken care of. Doesn't matter how ugly and dumb they are. Like there will never be any homeless in the ethno state. There will never be someone who's unmarried and lonely in the ethno state. There'll never be people who fall down the pit of alcoholism or drug addiction in the ethno state. Because we won't allow that to happen to our people. We'll take care of everybody. as it should be. There's nothing evil about that. Let's read some comments. The victors write history, yes. Shotokan Donaldo-san. Hi. Ulfric, you are the man. You are the karate man. I love this stuff. That makes me laugh. It's super funny. The wax on, wax off Donaldson. That's funny. Yes, not saying that. Okay, that's all right to have terminology subcategories. Yep. Low IQ can. How low can the Browns go? That's a kind of a contradiction that I've been trying to cope with, I guess, recently. Because you have, yeah, we all know very well about, El Negros and other sorts out there, and but then you've got your Jesse Lee Petersons and your Candace Owenses or whatever. What was the phrase? It's not all of them, but it's always them. That is a really powerful phrase. Did you ever hear that one? It's not always, no, it's not all of them, but it's always them. Do you understand the implications here? So, like, it's always them creating, the chimp outs or the violence or the crime rates or da 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 da, right? All of those problems, all of those anti-white racial problems. And I mean, it's not just them exclusively, but I guess what I'm getting at is that, like, I've got a buddy from, like, the city that I meet him out, to go dancing and stuff. He's black. And he's he kind of, like, grew up in, like, a white neighborhood. And he just doesn't, he's not black, as if you kind of know what I'm trying to say. He's not ghetto. Just, like, if you didn't know that he was black, you'd be like, this guy's just sort of very normal and good heart, easygoing, fun time, all that stuff, So I don't know, I just kind of think, like, man, how would I talk to him about race realism? So that's just a thought that I was kind of musing on while I was cooking lunch today and thinking, for someone who is decent and, like, high IQ enough to know how to behave and just be what I would call normal, which is literally white, in standard. Like, what's normal is white standards. That's what normal means, not the rest of the ghetto lifestyle. I think you know what I mean. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, well, for starters, I would have to, like, dissolve the entire Marxist framework of the entire, like, every single thing to do with race. That all the way the words work, who invented the word racism and why, how blacks were weaponized against whites through the civil rights movement, Marxism, communism, class war, race war. Like, I'd have to do, like, a whole coursework on these concepts before I could even start to just, talk about these things. I don't know that I ever would or would need to. I don't see those worlds crossing paths, so to speak. But, then you can take that notion farther and say, well, maybe someday I'll have to explain this to my family or, people that I know and love and that care about me that have no idea what the dissident right is and, or, white politics, white identity politics, any of that. So, because those people are going to, it's sort of like, if they find out that, Hitler was not wrong, or that World War II is profoundly lied about and has been weaponized against us, and how all that ties in with multiculturalism and on and on and on. It's just so much information, and people want they want little TV commercial sound bites. They don't want to listen to a lecture on, 10 million talking points. So how do you do it? How do you, and that's kind of an ongoing discussion in this show. So like that's what it all ties together, I guess is what I'm essentially saying. Um, so I don't know. It's good. I think it's healthy or helpful to talk about methodologies for things, and I think that they're just case by case. Um, I've never called myself a white nationalist. I am an ethno nationalist, and it's actually not much different from being a white nationalist. It's just that it acknowledges that all people should have a home, and that I think that nationalists, ethno nationalists, in a world where everyone was an ethno nationalist, everyone would have a home and respect each other's sovereignty. Therefore, there would be no war. You know what I'm saying? It's anti imperialistic. So, for whatever the Chads out there that are like, no, let's go take the resources from all these places. That's if somehow you do that, you'd have to do it from my philosophy, you'd have to do it in such a way that was not harmful to the indigenous people, you know, and that's not an easy, it's not, doesn't normally work out like that. But anyway, I am just musing as usual, talking up and down and sideways. Um, this is kind of like the thought dump show, where I kind of dump out my mind on the show as I'm doing my artwork. But it's great to get to bounce these ideas off at you guys. And I'm not one of those guys that's like, I have to be right all the time, and if you disagree with me, then I'm gonna go after you and rage quit and oh shit, and internet drama. That's not how I operate. That's not the Donald Kent brand, if you know what I'm trying to say. It's more like, help me see the truth. If you have a better view of truth than I do, then take me there. You know what I mean? But you got to convince me. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't follow you just because of cult of personality. You got to use logic and rationality to convince me. Oh, nummy nummy. All right, this page looks pretty good. Let's move on. So just for context in this show, and I tried to explain this the other day, but I got really flustered because I couldn't find the words. This is not a woman. This is a robot. This is a robot. And our hero here needs... These robots can fly. They have like jet packs coming out of their hands and feet. And so he's kind of hijacking her and reprogramming her with his technology to get her to comply with him, and then tell her, look, I need to fly out of here. I got to escape this situation. But in so doing, the robot falls in love with him. And so it's comedy, okay? I didn't write this story, by the way. This is a job that I'm paid to do. So just putting that out there as well. So here's the comedy. And it's kind of a play on, like, she kind of makes moves on him in this next page here. And he sort of, he kind of rejects her and stuff. And you can see how he's kind of rolling his eyes at the audience, breaking the fourth wall. He's got his hand over her face. It's sort of, I guess, taking a jab at like that whole like sex doll industry or something like that. Or the idea of reliance on AI as like the answer to all things. So when the graphic novel comes out, you guys can all read it and have a jab at, like, you know, critiquing it, understanding it, tearing it apart, interpreting it, whatever, whatever. But that's just so you understand a little bit about what I'm drawing here today on the Donald Kennard Show. Who? Okay, let's take a look at some chats. SC is here. Welcome, SC. Let's read. I gotta scroll back up a bit before I can catch up. Hang tight, fam. Wow, you guys are flying. Let's see if I can catch up. Um, Lots going on. Not all X are like that. Naxalts. What is Naxalts? I don't know that. Matt W is here. Awesome sauce. Let's welcome my friend Matt W. Well, you could talk to this. Anti-whiteism is obviously a super powerful term to use, and it frames things well. I don't think everything falls under that terminology per se, but that's another topic. Da da da. This is hypocritical. How does Japan deal with the sub-Saharan races? Very brutally. I don't know if you guys have seen any footage of when they capture, like, Africans who basically they're TikTokers that go to Japan and harass people on the subways and do stupid shit on, on, like, TikTok. They torture these guys, and they film it, and they put that on the internet. So, like, I mean, it's not like they're cutting them or doing, like, really dark kinds of tortures, but they'll put them in, like, very uncomfortable positions and stretch them unnaturally. That's the type of Japanese police torture. So, and of course they're screaming, and it's ugly. I'm not saying yay torture. I violently against torture, but I don't know. It's like you don't want these fuckers coming to your country and harassing people. And furthermore, there is an argument to say that some people don't understand anything but violence, but that remains to be seen. So I'm not going to take that one too far. Yeah. Oh, and good news too. Japan just the far right political party in Japan just won their recent election over there, or whatever that is. So that's great news. It's really great to see that the Japanese far right are already out in the lead to some extent. I don't know how much, say, like the World Economic Forum, like how much impact or influence they have. I will tell you a really shocking story, though, about Japan regarding World Economic Forum and multiculturalism, the whole agenda. Some time ago, because I'm always researching stuff, I found an interview of he's basically the Japanese, help me out, what's this called, the guy who's the head of the Department of the Government Economy, whatever the fuck that is called. I know I'm so eloquent, right? Anyway, he's giving an interview in Japanese, and somebody found it, translated it to English, and in the interview he says, well, he was asked, like, why did you sell out Japan's economy to the World Economic Forum? And he says, I was told that if I don't, that Japan will be attacked by earthquakes. And, shortly after that, the blah blah earthquake and the blah blah earthquake happened. And so I signed the paper. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So, like, people in the know, people like myself and my friends, and people on my channel, we are completely aware of weaponized weather. We know about HARP. We know about all kinds of other stuff. And it's just we're now. It's kind of like the world is like it's sort of like an ant under a magnifying glass, or like a fly that's having its wings pulled off. We are at the mercy of these globalist monsters who can have done and will continue to destroy areas for whatever the thing is that they want. Wildfires have been a huge thing. One case, of course, is in California, where there were all these wildfires. This is like going on like maybe 2 years ago. I saw the radar footage. It was like a weather radar, and at the moment where fires were happening in a certain area, there was a white laser streak that went across the screen of the radar, and it touched down exactly at where the fire had originated, and so that was evidence of it's essentially like using satellite lasers. People who know about that, they know that it will not burn anything colored blue, and so there's cases where people like Oprah Winfrey had her roof of her Hawaii villa painted blue, and and all the houses around hers are burnt to the ground, but hers is totally untouched. And many cases of this kind of shit. It's all out there. So I forget his first name, something Abe. He was assassinated in public. Shino Abe. Fuck, I can't remember. I'm terrible at these things. That was a very significant event in Japanese history. It happened, and then Trump was like, "Oh, he was a great guy. He's really huge." Blah, blah, blah. But people don't realize that I wouldn't compare him to Kennedy, but he was a really important anti-globalist leader in Japan, and some fucking nutcase with a like a homemade gun, who's like has like a Marxist manifesto, walks up to him during a public speech and fucking kills him. So Japan is forget about race. Like they're on board with what we're going through. We are I don't know if not, I'm finding the fucking right word. Not affiliates, not partners, comrades. I guess you know what I mean, for survival. Yeah. And they've been watching. They know what's fucking going on over here. That's stupid. Manga Waffen, assemble. Let's read. Trust. There's no way that I can respond to every single text, because especially when I give like 10-minute monologues. People wanting sound bites. Many ironically seem to understand that from the normie sphere. This is great. Cheers is Norm's second home. Females, Karen, Chad. Baldwin is here. Welcome back. SC says, taking slaves is such a weird concept, but ants do it to other colonies. That I didn't know. That's pretty interesting. Ants only operate by the minimum of senses, which is smell. That's another thing I didn't know. They smell through their antennas or something. Ulfric, ants also capture and keep aphids in the same manner that humans keep cows. There's my random trivia. Wow. The king, Great White says the king has arrived, bald and blah 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 blah. Sleepers. It's interesting. Ants not really touches. Craig well-being. Just kind of skimming through these guys. Hang tight. Western kind translates to the sun rises wherever you go, and about biospirit rather than geographical location. Beautifully said. Well, nice. Well done. City of London Davos will cause another tsunami. Right. Thank you. Damn. What do we got here? The Y only Asian style. I love that Donald made a reference to ants before he actually approached the entire chat section about ants. I think ants should be the theme of the day. There's a lot of like meme ability in that, it's a good analogy for something. I'd say like there could be something. There of course was the movie Ants, and there's been some memes about that where it's like, we have to stand up against the tribe or something. Not the tribe, the if the tribe got together and they could overthrow the leaders, something, you know, all that stuff. I gotta focus on some artwork here, guys. If I keep talking, I'm not gonna get anything done. No gonna. Then I will be bad, 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 bad. So bad, 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 bad. What I will do, maybe try to do anyway, is respond to individual things, like, maybe if there's a specific question, or like, hey Donald, what do you think about blah blah, then I can go there. But like 10 million different little alleyways on different topics, I'm never going to get any artwork done if I do that. So how can do? I can muse. um, Quite good at musing. um, okay, I had a funny, here's kind of a funny thing to share with you. So, we're all trying to find ways to meet people in the white identity movement IRL, right? And it's really hard to do, right? Because, there's dangers involved, and you don't want to get sort of doxxed or harassed or like honeypot, or you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So there's the ongoing. Well, how the fuck do we meet people, like-minded people in our with our politics, etc. So there is a website called Meetup.com that is very popular for creating like clubs and stuff. Like people who like to do coding, or uh, bird watching, or exercise, whatever, anything, any kind of clubs that exist, you can create a club there. So you go to meetup.com, you whatever, create an account, and then you're like, well, I'm really interested in anime, and so I'm gonna make an anime club, and we can meet, on Saturdays and watch anime, and talk about it together or something, and you know, it's just a thing. It's a kind of a nice thing. So I'm like, well, how could we use that resource for us? And I thought, what if I made clubs like Bring Back the Roman Empire Club, where basically I'm using dog whistles, that our people would know. Um, you'd have to be very careful. Like, it's what do you call it? Meetup is very, very liberal. Like, if they know you're trying to have like they'll let you get away with like patriots or something. Like people who like to be patriotic and hang a American flag on their car. They'll let you do that or whatever. But it's just you don't see much of it. Mostly it's like LGBT, in your face. All this kind of like, we're a victim. And we have to shout it to the hills. Um, and then, so yeah. So I was trying to think what would be some funny dog whistle names for these groups. I don't know if you guys can come up with any. I came up with the Bring Back the Roman Empire group. The focus of this group is to find and discuss ways to bring back the Roman Empire. If you're a fan of history, join our group on Wednesdays. We'll be meeting at the blah blah cafe and whatever. And kind of just make it almost look like a nerdy. I don't know. It's like a history club group. You know what I'm saying? But in fact, so I don't know. Maybe like the Sam Hyde Admiration Club, or that one might maybe not work because Sam Hyde is like a public figure per se. Um, what else? What else could we do? The Pepe Appreciation Club. Oops. Shinzo Abe, yes, the great wait. Abe, we want art responses to the chat and live music will at the same time. Thank you for making that clear. Richard Williams is back. Hope the show is going good. All right. Yeah, I think it's really late. I think he lives in Ireland, so that's too late. Ulfric Donald, what is your favorite music genre? Now there's a question. Woo woo. I do not have a meetup space. That's why I'm trying to make one. My favorite music genre. I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if this is like not cool anymore, but I am a classic rock dude, and that's like in my DNA. That's like in my blood. It's like a easy go to, but I always say that like music is like food. I like chicken, but I don't want to eat it every day. You get my point? So, I don't want any one kind of food all the time or any one kind of music. It's very mood oriented. I've been on a really huge yacht rock kick. I find, I'm a musician, so the musicianship and the songwriting is very, very excellent in that genre. But then also the production. The other thing that I think I like about it so much is how romantic it is. Like a lot of the so-called love music or whatever, pop music today, there's nothing romantic about it anymore. It's just like about fucking. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just dirty, sexy, shitty, kind of like that. There's nothing really beautiful about it, if you know what I'm saying. So it's nice to be in a kind of a musical space where that exists. I think it's very beautiful, and it saddens me like how people don't get it and they don't enjoy it. Maybe, oh yeah, I'm gonna say for sure. Of course, a lot of it is very saccharine. Do you know what I mean by saccharine? It's kind of cheesy. But there's a I don't know, there's a sort of like don't take yourself so seriously about it, if that makes sense. Which I think is kind of a good thing. So I of course I do my house music on the weekends. Deep house is like good. It's like good listening music. It's good chill music if you're cooking or cleaning or doing artwork. It's a nice go-to. It's like very refreshing in the morning with some coffee. Sorry, I gotta get that centered. Sorry about that. I had a client last year who was a big country music fan, and all my life I didn't like country music, and this guy specifically liked country music from like the 50s and up to the 70s, and so I was kind of forced to listen to it for quite a while, and then especially the 1950s country music really grew on me. Um, it's like white people when we were happy. You know what I'm saying? It's a kind of like a time capsule to a much much happier time for white people, and it's also a look into the culture of white people in America. It's obviously very American. Um, and there's something really charming and beautiful and important about that. So I came to like it. Not really something to listen to a lot, but I can appreciate it. And I have every once in a while, I'll throw something on. Um, I used to be a really hardcore kind of prog rock dude. King Crimson, early Genesis. Um, I've never thought of Pink Floyd as prog rock, because they're not, as musicians, they're not like sophisticated enough to make music that is weird like prog rock. Like that whole period of music where they were just making noise, to me was totally fucking stupid, and like basically they just didn't know who they were yet, and they kind of, that was a thing in like London for a little while, and then it just kind of came and went, and but they didn't let go of it because it was sort of the only identity that they had, and they needed to learn how to write music. But then you got Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall and all these amazing historic works of music. Um, Gosh, I can go for some drum and bass, some jungle once in a while. If I'm dancing, I do like it when the DJ gets a little weird and plays some kind of beboppy beeps and bops and like weird robotic kind of stuff, electro kind of stuff. That can be a lot of fun. The DJ I saw last night, he's from Buff. Well, where is he from? He's from the Niagara area or Toronto. I want to say Toronto, but might be like Niagara Falls side of Canada. And then he came up in like Brooklyn, so that's what he's known for, even though he's not from Brooklyn. But anyway, he was in town, and it's very artistic. Um, and so like that was an amazing show. It was a great, great show. Really something fresh. Classic soul, classic. You can never, never go wrong with classic soul. There's a song by Al Green, "Let's Stay Together," that like next time I get to do karaoke, I'm gonna do that song. I got back into Keane, Keane. It's like a British band. I guess it's kind of indie pop is maybe what you would call it. Um, there's music that makes you feel sad, and there's a kind of a like that one song. You can get addicted to a certain kind of sadness. You didn't have to cut me off. You didn't take a record, that one. You can get addicted to a certain kind of sadness, and I think there's a danger in that. So I personally, I can get, you know, I can go way down that rabbit hole, and I have to be careful not to. So music can be kind of dangerous in that regard. Um, if you're sort of emotionally messed up, and you start listening to heavy doses of Radiohead, then if that happens to your friend, you better give him a call. Get him out of the house. You know what I'm saying? It's You get what I'm saying. But like, I'm no stranger to that kind of like sad music. I like sad music. Kind of put it that way a bit. I feel very at home in sad music. I love what's his name? Fucking Irish guy, Van Morrison. Massive, massive Van Morrison fan. I love Van Morrison. There is a record that I pull out every year around when it becomes fall, like sort of like fall to Christmas, like right, I guess around there, October, November, December, and oh, what's the name of the album? There's a song on there. He does a version of it. It's not easy being green. Um, Hard Knows the Highway. That's the name of the album. I bought that album when I was, gosh, shit, how old was I? Maybe 16, 15, 16 or something. And I bought it right at that time of year. I was in a huge, you know, like, once I get into a certain artist, I'll like get autistic about it. Like, if it's, Cat Stevens or Pink Floyd or Neil Young or whoever it might be, I'll like start collecting everything I can from them. And so I was on like a massive Van Morrison kick at the time. And yeah, so like listening, it's a soundtrack to your life. I think this is kind of the amazing thing about music is that it does become the soundtrack to your life. And as such, it's really important. It's very special. How about that for a monologue? Craig says, let's make an outreach and a club too. The outreach would be kind of separate. Well, I like those ideas. That's the way that I think. It's just, making it happen. I have a million ideas, but making them happen is quite a different thing. Elon's little urban achievers. Oh, jeez. I think those would be people that would like spray paint Nazi symbols on Tesla cars or something. I was driving in town, like in the city, a day or two ago, and there's a guy with a Tesla, and he had, I don't know if it was a sticker or an actual metal piece that he had plastered on the back of it, and it said Chevrolet. Like a huge thing that said Chevrolet. So obviously, I guess I would say that it's a bit of a joke on people vandalizing these cars, whatever. What have you got? Let's do a quick look. Uh, King Crimson were amazing, indeed. Who we would read? Yeah. So there you go. And now you know. Um, Something I'm not really inclined to do much of lately is I'm not on the kind of like fear porn news cycle wagon, whatever that is. Where it's like breaking news, blah 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 blah. Oh my God, like I pay attention. There's things that are important that happen, and it's like, oh, look at this. Um, I'm especially interested in things that show movement of the Overton window, you know, where like, oh, this thing happens, and it seems to indicate, you know, a change in where we're going, where the public is going on a certain topic, you know. Um, uh, France's government is going to acknowledge Palestine as a country, you know. So like, and there's pushback. There's like, oh, that what that means is that they're going to be taking Palestinian refugees, which is obviously not good for France, right? You get the, you know the pattern, right? So it looks like good news on the outside, but then you break it down just a little bit, and you're like, oh fuck. I can't get into the Thai Cambodia combo platter. I haven't gotten back into that. My guesstimation with little information that I have is that it's actually a proxy war from China. Thailand is very independent. It's a lot like any country that doesn't want to play ball with the new world order. You know how they'll like you know, we came, we saw, they died. You know, that kind of the government will go in there and fuck them up. You know, and Thailand has I would say like probably a pretty reasonable amount of independence. They make their own decisions. They have a king. They're their own rulers, so to speak. And Cambodia, you know, it's communist. So, and being a tiny, tiny, poor country is literally just a serfdom of China, you know, as is North Korea, Vietnam, any communist country in Asia is, you know, gonna. You get the idea. You know, it's kind of like what Eastern European countries were to Russia, you know, back in the old days, that kind of thing. So that's my guesstimation on that. We'll see how it plays out. Um, Nearby in Burma, there's a really terrible, violent, bloody, kind of a civil war going on. There are these Muslims that are Rohingya. I forget how to pronounce their name, but like I guess that, you know, they're they might. I don't know enough about it to. I can tell you what I know, but I don't quote me. Basically, my understanding is that it's a type of group of people that have a different ethnicity. Um, I believe they're Muslim, and there's just been lots of kind of tribal warfare with against them and the local Burmese. Now, Burma is one of the most desperately poor countries in the planet. So it's, you know, they're chopping each other up with fucking, you know, machetes and shit over there. That's how, you know, photographs of mothers holding their headless babies crying, and that's the situation in Burma. You know what I mean? And things like that kind of make me feel like, obviously it's heinous and terrible and sad and blah blah blah, but like this idea of like bring them all here is not, you know. You know, there's a side of you that's like, why, like how is that, how is that good for us? It's obviously not. But then secondly, like, if they have the nature to do these kinds of acts, you know, what could trigger them to do this again, but on American soil? Does that make sense? So, you know, what does it take to turn a group of brown people into a violent mob? You know, how far are they from that? at any given moment. And if you look at, say, the situation with ICE and how there's like 700% violent increase against ICE officers, and then you look at the kind of people they're arresting and the kind of crimes that they do, the one or two good ones or whatever, just they're totally inconsequential. I mean, granted, Asians tend to be much, much more civil, um, than people from other places. But it's not our job to fix everybody's problems and to take in everybody who fucked up. It's not our job. I'm not. To me, that's sociopathic altruism, psychopathic altruism. You know. Okay. We're not the world's police. We're not the world's nannies. Yes, 100%. Um, Ulfric says, yeah, it makes you wonder how they think simply plopping them in our communities will magically fix their behavior to desired standards. So let's get into that. That is a really important question. And I would answer that by saying the answer is identity. That when you think anybody can be an American, all they need is a passport, you'd have no grounding in identity at all. And not, I mean, you're on imbecilic levels of mental brain damage to think that anybody, can just fit into America, or somehow this is good for America that we're bringing these people here. And I think if whites had a stronger sense of identity, this wouldn't happen, right? I mean, there's lots of countries. Look at Poland's like, we're not taking any freaking Muslims. Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Like there's and not just them, but there's other countries in the world that have enough sense to say no, we're not taking these people in. We'll help them to some extent, whatever, but it's not our job to somehow bring them into our countries. And once again, it always boils down to women who are voting for these things and fucking everybody up. But I've got this kind of newish idea that, and I'll just toss it out there. I think I might have brought this up on another show. I have this idea that one might say that the measurement of all politics comes down to one question. Do you love or hate white people? Yeah, I did bring this up on another show. And the idea was like, you could break down the topic of like, oh, well, corporations are evil, and, the environment and the workers' rights, and on and on and on and on. Well, who runs the corporations? Old white men, and then you get into this whole hatred of white men, colonization, white men, on and on. All these other words and terms and frames are really just bubbles. You see what I'm saying? To hide the true anti-white hatred that drives leftist politics, and then people in our media saying, well, you are responsible for colonialism, and you're responsible for slavery, and blah, 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 and all this shit. The average conservative, anybody, they just don't know our history. They can't fight back, and they just succumb. You know what I'm saying? But to get back to the point, though, I think this is the framework we should always try to use. It's like, Do you love or hate white people? If you love white people, well, then what's your political orientation? Nationalism, preserving countries' cultures, safety, law and order, you know, like all of these things, right? It's understood. It's understood. So there you go, and I do feel like that would be a great way to open a conversation. It's like, well, what are your thoughts about this? And do you love or hate white people? And like, like try that. Like, toss that at somebody. Just casually toss it at them. And no one's ever asked that kind of question before. It's never been posed. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I've never thought about it. Like, do I well, well, I something this and that and something something and talkie, and then go down the rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I think from there you can have a conversation. You can actually get into something that could be very red pilling. It could be very red pilling. It'd be quite excellent. See, I got some good ideas. Um, anyway, I need a little refreshment here. Mm. I have got to turn the music back on. It is very quiet in here, and it's very sad. So I got to put some happy music on. I'll be back in a moment. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, good. So let's see. Let's check some chats. Um, let's see. Um, Craig, I am over my head in stuff right now. I can't take on any new projects. Just tossing that out there. I can talk about ideas like on here and stuff, but I can't undertake any big projects right now. Alfred says, yeah, it makes you wonder how they think. Oh, we talked about that. We're not da da da. I read that. So, who wants to join the New Schwabenland Camping Club? I love it. New Schwabenland. Okay, now you're there. Now we're going somewhere. Maybe the Vril Society or the Thula Society. That could be a thing. The Marie Orsich Admiration Club. Ooh, Antarctica or bust. Guys, we're going there. Oh my God, we're on to something here, folks. I'm digging it. So somebody suggested to me that I look into Discord, and I'm like, yeah, but Discord doesn't. That's online. That's not IRL. You know what I mean? I don't. Is it? I mean, can anybody answer that? Is there like local Discord groups? Does that exist? I don't know. I don't believe it does. Um, yeah. Okay, what's going on here? My channel's here. Welcome. Okay. Let's get back to some chats. Thula Society. Yes, you should discuss some of what you've learned about that topic and even Pleiadians. Wow. You really want to go there? Do you really want to go there? Um, I will do that for you, my friend, and we will weed out the, the men from the mice on that topic. The wheat from the chaff. Hold on here. Let me catch some other comments first. My channel says, sorry, bro, watching, listening to No White Guilt, and he's on a break playing Forno. That's fine. I would actually love to see you do a podcast with Tim Murdoch on aliens. Wow. Somebody's got to get that. Holy shit, can somebody introduce me to Tim Murdoch? You know what? I've done an interview with Tim Murdoch. I know him. He's on Imperium Art, and he was one of the people who was part of the fundraiser for me when my mom died. But I didn't know that he was into those things. So that's kind of surprising to me. Anyway, maybe I'll reach out to him. That's kind of a topic because, like, as you guys know, once this book gets published, it's gonna kind of kickstart my brand again, and then I'll be out there. So like it might be good to have a plan, of like, well, who would be some people for me to try to get on the show or get on their show and do promotions and things of this nature. That's actually a pretty good idea. This music I'm playing sucks, though. I gotta turn this off or change it because it's like irritating. Nothing like trying to do art and listening to crap music. All right. All right. So UFOs and Pleiadians. You really want to go there? Oh yeah, Tim Murdoch. He has done some good. White Rabbit Radio. REM Theory Videos is here. Excellent. Dope art, man. Hey, thanks, Bo. But you cannot make a difference. Tim Murdoch likes some of my outreach, even though you don't edit outfits, but you can make a difference online. True. All right, so wow. Okay, so I'm not. All I can sort of say regarding like what I know of the Thula Society is what anybody can look up on the internet. So it's not like I have any, you know, like big secrets or I can't do the Gaia interview circuit, where I'm like something happened to me and it's amazing and now I'm new on the show, and buy my book or something. I can't shill anything. Um, but, it occurred to me like the topic of why were the Nazis traveling to Tibet? What did they find there? Why were they traveling to Antarctica? What did they find there? These are forbidden questions. And as such, we have to ask them and we have to find out what is the answer. Um, before I even go, excuse me, before I even go there, let's identify like the types of mentalities. How do I say this? Like, imagine that there's a miracle drug, but it only works on people who believe that the drug works. That's what trying to talk about these things is like. Like when people are like, well, that's weird, and I just automatically don't believe it, even though I don't know fuck shit about it. Nope, just gonna shut it off. Nope, nope. Well, not listening. La 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 la. Like fuck you and grow the fuck up and change your diapers while you're at it, you shithead. Like I hate that. I hate that. I'm not saying I know XYZ. I'm presenting, or that I believe everything. I'm presenting information that is extraordinarily compelling and relevant and meaningful, and that is something we should know about and we should inquire more about. But having like a sort of, chud attitude about it is just anti-scientific. It's anti-intellectual. So approach UFOs and foo-foo, hoo-hoo topics of this nature with some like open-mindedness. Um, that's all I gotta say. That's just because like whenever I start these topics, I know that there's people that are like, oh, well, let's go see what's on TV now. They just shut their brains off. I don't understand that. It's like a stupid type of behavior. But moving on, I think part of it is because they're afraid. They're afraid of knowing the truth, but they're maybe more afraid of not knowing the truth. People don't like being out of control. And this is some scary shit. Some of it's really fucking terrifying. Um, but then, so like, as far as we are concerned within our movement, let's frame it again. Why were the Germans, uh, what were they looking for and what did they find? And when I say the Germans, I'm really more specifically talking about the occult secret society, the Thule Society, or Tula Society. I don't speak German, forgive my mispronunciation. Um, and so, what's funny about it is that there's not a lot written on it. Our buddy, who's the guy? Don. I hate it when I can't remember names. He does all of his video. I'm an anthropologist. He starts his videos eating food and playing a ukulele, and then he talks about Scythians and UFOs and Aryans and all that. What's that guy's name again? Hippocratic Oath. Hit me up. What is that fucking guy's name? Robert Seffer. Thank you, Robert Seffer. So I kind of foolishly bought Robert Seffer's book on Marie Orsic, and it wasn't expensive or whatever. It's not a big book, but I just basically found out I could have done the same thing with all of the information I've looked. It's basically, here's what's available on the internet about this topic. It's well done in terms of like, it puts that stuff together. Um, I know some people are like, oh, he's a Jew, and some people are not, and I don't know where I stand on that. I feel like, even if he's a Jew, he's done a lot of work that I think is valuable. Or unless he's doing this work specifically to gatekeep us away from some deeper information that we don't know about, and he's doing it successfully, then obviously he would be an enemy. Okay, I'll just make that straight, you know. But until somebody convinces me otherwise, I don't see that he's terribly bad. So, and I'm okay admitting I'm wrong if that's good. Okay. Um, so Maria Orsic is this woman who has some kind of psychic powers. She was somehow or other brought into the Thule Society, and she channeled beings from a star system called Aldebaran, and they gave her the schematics for UFOs. So, Nazi UFOs exist. It's well documented. Excuse me. So, pardon me. So the question remains, like, where did they get these UFOs from? You know, and why did the Nazis get it and nobody else did? And then why, if they had the fucking UFOs, why didn't they win the war with it? So there's a lot of pretty serious questions related to this topic. Admiral Byrd, I don't know how much you guys know about that. This is after World War II, was sent on an exhibition to, is that the right word, exhibition? On a trip to Antarctica, by the Navy, U.S. Navy. He gets there and he's accompanied by a naval fleet. Now, why the fuck would a naval fleet? Why would the government send a naval fleet to Antarctica after World War II? That's a pretty weird thing to do. Okay. Well, they get there and Nazi UFOs come out and kick their asses and send them running home crying to mommy. And so that happens, and then nothing else is said about it. Tie that data point in with Werner von Braun, Nazi rocket scientist being taken, Project Blue Chip or Paperclip or something, I forget what it's called. You know, this guy is the Nazis' leading rocket scientist. He's featured in like Walt Disney shorts and things of this nature, and he was kind of portrayed as like a handsome German scientist guy back in the 50s and whatever. And his last words to a trusted colleague before he passed away was, "Beware the fake alien invasion." So there's a lot of things going on that are critical to understand, and so I'm trying to understand them by doing the fucking research, like you would do research on anything else. Why can't you research UFOs with the same clinical, critical thinking that you research World War II or the World Economic Forum or communism or whatever, you know? It's just a topic. Just look at it directly, like an adult, you know. And then when you start to see the amount of what's it called, counterintelligence, then you know, oh fuck, they're hiding something, you know. So the way I'm speaking about this is kind of like I'm talking to normies, but people who are actually in this field, it's quite powerful. It's quite heavy. Okay, so like I'll give you this scared the shit out of me. I saw this today on YouTube. I'm in the like UFO algorithm on YouTube, and so I get, you know, a lot of videos that come up that suggest, oh, you might like to watch this, you know. And a lot of those videos claim to be what do you call them? Like sort of psychic communications from alien civilizations. And like, this is a message from the Syrians. This is a message from the Pleiadians. This is a message from Taygeta. This is, and there's all these characters in that world. And the one that popped up today that scared me was digital currency is coming. And that's coming out of a UFO alien channeling channel. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like somebody channels an alien and then posts the information. Um, is channeling? I'm convinced channeling's real, but I'm not convinced all channelers are real. So, the Book of Seth is a really, really fascinating case in, I think it was the 60s, 50s or 60s. Is a woman who, when she falls asleep, this interdimensional being enters her and just starts talking. And this research team gathered all these tapes and published everything that was on there into books. You can look it up. Um, I don't know what I think of Bashar. I'm very suspicious of Bashar. If you know who Bashar is, this guy's been around for a long time. Um, forget his name, Alda something. I can't remember the dude's name. Um, he, you know, he was his profession before doing Bashar full time was an actor. You know what I mean? That's like red flag. You know, is he given scripts? Is it real? And then you got to go and say, well, like, what is the intention of these aliens? If these are real aliens, what do they really want? What are they really trying to do? You know, if it's get us on fucking digital currency, then we've been scammed again. You get what I'm saying here? So, Israel has the Jerusalem Times has posted, like, the United States government knows about UFOs and aliens and blah 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 blah. It's just another dimension of our whole political sphere, but it's not, sort of something that people who are in the white identity movement would think about or talk about outside, above and beyond the whole Marie Orsic thing. I have a friend in the movement who's, pretty much a white nationalist, and she is like a sort of professional psychic. She's a friend, and we follow each other on Telegram and YouTube and this and that, and we've had lots of like video phone calls and various things, and so I don't know, like that, and maybe I should get her on the show. That's actually a damn good idea. Damn, that's actually a really good idea. Huh. Wow. Anyway, there's a whole lot of chat going on down there. I have no idea what's being said. I'm sorry I spurred out on that, but like, just today, I started telling somebody about a story, or rather a video report I saw of a person who was, in a sense, hijacked by some interdimensional being to send some message and something. And this person was really, I don't know what the word is for this. It's where like they roll their eyes at you, like like you're a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? And I don't take kindly to being treated like that, especially by people who have zero fucking knowledge about anything. It's like screw you. You know what I mean? I don't say screw you. I was just like, okay, I can tell you're not interested in this. Change the topic. But people need to start getting used to this. This shit's coming down the line. And it's already here. All right, let's do some reading. We got chats. A whole lot of chats. The attempt to take down the secret society's aspect is very interesting. A lot of interesting things about history. Indeed, sir. I like Robert better? Robert Seffer? Better than who? Oh, Topert? Oh, Hippocratic Oath. You're not a Seffer guy. You're against. Give us like, what's the deal? Is it his dad is? I forget. There were some reasons why people think he's no good, but maybe you can pop that in the chat. That would be helpful. Operation High Jump, thank you, in 47, 48, 46. Heard the story about the circle jerk machines. Oh, that shit's fucking stupid. After that story was proven wrong. Da, 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 da. Yeah. The alien invasion story is from Carol Rosen's account of a conversation with. Oh, thank you. Wow, man, you're right on top of it. Good job. What do you think about flat earthers? I have a close friend who he's like one of us. You know what I mean? Like he's a very, very hardcore far right political guy, very hardcore. And I respect him and I love him, but he is like he will die on the hill of the flat earth. Now, I do acknowledge that there's some compelling information. I do have a healthy sense of skepticism about everything. This like ice wall situation, but I at this point it seems ridiculous to me. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I don't feel I have enough evidence to believe it. Ulfric says, "No, you're good, man. Don't need to apologize. I love this whole subject. Cool." John D. and Edward Kelly communicated with the Watchers and noticed they shared info, but they were also notorious liars and wanted D. and Kelly to share their wives with each other. See, it's kind of what I'm saying. You know, there you go. Suad is here. Hello, Suad. Anything involving humans is going to have corruption. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know how to say it. It's like, I don't care. How do I put it? Let's say we have a leader, and the leader maybe drinks a lot or something, but he's a good leader and he gets shit done. I don't fucking care that he drinks. You get my point? Like, everybody is faulted in some way. We're human beings, you know? But, like, there are certain things naturally that make you go, whoa, 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 you know? There's something fucked up there, you know? But I mean, like, I don't know how to say it. Truth doesn't depend on who's speaking it. It just depends on it being true or not. You get my point? Yeah. Sorry, I'm enjoying an adult beverage at the moment here. I just need a break. Whoosh. Yeah, the UFO stuff. It's You know what's scary is how hologram technology and AI are fucking it up really, really badly. That's why, like 20 years ago, when I started researching this, I saw things that I know were fucking true. You know, now, granted, what 9/11 was, what, almost 20 years ago, so there could have blah blah blah. But at that time, the UFO topic was totally taboo. People laughed at you if you said you believed in UFOs or you saw one or that you were interested in it. You were a weirdo. You didn't talk about that, you know. And I just always had this fascination with it, and then just fell down a rabbit hole. And the Billy Meyer tapes, the Billy Meyer case, is one of the first cases I ever saw on that. And whenever there's something like this, there's always somebody out there that's like, they're hell bent on proving it wrong. It's like, I just have to fucking prove this wrong, you know. And I have seen, not in the case of Billy Myers, but in other cases of people who show evidence of phenomenon that, like, sometimes they are fucking lies, you know. But at the same time, just to fuck shit up even more, there's people out there that, like the government essentially, or the secret government, if you want to call it that, that they put fake shit out there, and then somebody will say, "Aha, I gotcha. I proved that this is fake," and that makes everybody think, "Oh, the whole UFO community is a bunch of nutcases. I'm gonna back away from this." Do you see how that works? Okay, it's a type of a psyop. You see, so if you've gotten this far and you're still on board, then congratulations, because you're one of the fucking few. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy. I'm not. It's like you're standing in a field, and half of the plants are weeds and poisonous, and on the other half are medicine. And you know what I mean? Like, which one do I pick? How do I know? And it's through trial and error. You can kind of tell what's real and what's not. Um, so I feel like at this point I have a really like a better sense of this than most people, I suppose. Just because of the time that I put into it. 20 years is a fucking long time, you know. So I guess if I were to make a statement on that, the UFO topic opens up a very, a really, really hard rabbit hole for people to mentally wrap their heads around, for starters. And then, secondly, understanding the science of it is exquisitely difficult. Wormholes, multidimensional things, consciousness. This shit gets very wild. But the one thing that keeps popping up in my research is the affirmation of Gnosticism. That Greys, specifically, the whole gray alien abduction slice of the pie of UFOs, there's indications more and more and more that the human body is a prison for our souls, and that Earth itself, the Earth itself is a beautiful planet and a kind of a paradise, but the life forms on it are created in such a way as to trap souls and reincarnate infinitely, and then I don't even want to talk about that because it's just too much for most people to digest at one time. It's sort of like saying, like, oh, white replacement is real. Go up to a normie on the street and say, we have to stop white replacement, and they'll look at you like you just said, UFOs are real. You get my point? And then you have to take a long time to like explain things to them, to show them the data. Da, 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 da. And like, just if you can get them through the fucking data, then you have to explain why is it happening. Like, why are they trying to kill us off? All right, open the Talmud. All right, here we go. Roman history. It's it that goes down another. You see where I'm going. So it's like, I just don't. I'm not. It's not my job to convince anybody of the UFO thing. I care about the topic. If you want to know, I'll share what I know. But I'm not gonna try to sit here and like pull up 10,000 data bits for you to go to like noodle around and split hairs over and shit like that. That's not my. I'm not concerned with that. You have the internet as well as anybody else. Do the work. Do the sit-ups and push-ups for 20 years. Okay, like I did. Okay, and then have a talk with me about it. And I will listen, because I'll respect you when you do that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Earth is a kind of purgatory. So that I love that Ulfric just said that. So in Buddhism, it's called a bardo. And that's just a Tibetan word for like way station, or kind of like a plateau of some kind. So there's different bardos, or that the soul transmigrates through, in between one life to another is a bardo. Because you could think like we're living here now until we die, so we're in the bardo. So from a Western linguistic perspective, I think purgatory is the term that we can use. That's a really, really good choice of words. Very smart call right there, Matt. And yeah, so like the I don't know. There's just been a lot of these aliens that these grays that they capture. They interview them, and how this works is they're kind of part of what you would call like a consciousness collective, that they build these bodies like you would build a car, and the bodies they don't really feel pain. They are just tools. They're puppets that the consciousness can drive around. And then when you're done with one, if it gets killed, then you just go to the factory and get another one and you jump in the skin suit. And then you go back to doing your thing. So this collective has populated like millions of planets. They've been around millions and probably billions of years. And they're so far ahead of us that it's quite honestly not really in our human capacity to understand them. You can understand what I just said, but to actually be in that, it'd be like knowing all things at once. So try to imagine this. Imagine all white people. This is kind of a cool notion. Imagine that we hit a kind of consciousness. I don't know, what's that, like the 100th monkey theory, where like if 100 monkeys learn one technique, then all the entire species will automatically know it. There's a theory about that. You guys probably know. Well, imagine if like all white people had access to all other white people's consciousness. So like that would mean I know everything about engineering and science and art, and I could literally do probably almost anything because my brain is the internet of knowledge. That's and that sounds very transhuman, doesn't it? It sounds very AI, right? So, and then they say that they're us from the future coming back to save themselves, and they're building all these hybrids of like half human, half grays to try to integrate them into our society. They're saying that full contact is happening in 2027. So don't kill yourself yet. True, not true. I don't know. We'll see. But it's just that there's enough compelling information available, and there's a lot of people trying to stop it. Another reason JFK was killed was because he wanted to share our UFO files with Russia. I don't know how many people know that. He thought like this is Earth versus an alien species. It's like we don't have time to like fight each other. We've got to work together. And so like, I think there's probably better reasons that the Jews killed him, which is obviously, because he didn't want to go on their monetary system of enslavement and stuff. Anyway, I'm like all over the place. I'm just like a Jackson Pollock painting right now. I'm not making sense. Craig says I've been reading the concept of people capturing souls, obtaining them. Um, I hope I'm not. I mean, I don't know. I hope I'm answering your questions. I don't know if I'm answering any questions here. But he got some white pages. Okay. A Hippocratic Oath says John D. worked for Queen Elizabeth, but nothing changes. I imagine the deal is the same now with our government, but they went full global homo enthusiastically with whatever the Watchers wanted. So, yeah, I can't say for sure who these Watchers are. I'm kind of not on board with like the reptilian narrative. I that might exist. They might, there's. It's just that like there's not enough evidence in the research I've done. there's some extraordinarily compelling evidence. So I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, but I want more. You know what I mean? It's like Jim Sparks, for example, is one of the best cases of UFO abductees. He was abducted multiple times over many years. He's got a book called The Watchers. There you go, The Watchers, or not The Watchers. Sorry, The Keepers. That's what he calls them. And he had interactions with reptilians, apparently. And he says, like any other species, there's good ones and bad ones, whatever. People who talk about Satanism talk about these demons looking like reptilians. You know, I can't take like 20 years of information and like squeeze it into a couple sentences. It's frustrating. I guess part of my lack of wanting to believe that is because it's mingled in so much with religion. And I don't mean to be a jerk or to offend anybody, but I'm highly suspicious of religion. So, it's kind of like if you know somebody who, believes in things that you don't believe in, and then they tell you something that's true, you're less likely to believe the truth because of you don't trust them. And again, I'm not trying to hurt or offend anybody, but that's just kind of the cold hard truth of it, though. But something's going on. Something is fucking going on for sure. Still working it out, I guess. I don't know. I should probably shut up and draw. Probably that'd be better. All right, what time is it? Oh my god. Probably should wrap it up. I've been irritating enough for one day. I really feel sorry for my Fed who has to listen to this show and then, like, write a report. He said this and he said that. It's got to be like so tedious, and like, well, he was really moody. It's probably because I'm hot and like the heat and humidity right now is quite bad. Anyway, enough tomfoolery from Donald Kent, UFO Master. Any final comments before I cut you guys loose here? Let's see what we got. Thank you so much to Ulfric and Hippocratic Oath. Great to have Scroger here. Schizo Hour. Yeah, this was definitely a Schizo Hour, man, for sure. And great to have you here, brother. Good to have you here, Craig. Hyperborean aliens, those are Pleiadians. Betty and Barney Hill. Hippocratic Oath says the Watchers are angels mentioned in the book of Enoch. They took human wives and created the Nephilim and the mighty men of valor. Okay, so that's the specific Watchers, not the movie The Watchers or the Watchers from some other guy's book or something. But I'm hearing you. And I would say that the book of Enoch is extremely significant in UFO studies. It's just something that comes up again and again and again. I'll just stop there on that one. Religion meant to be conscious way to lead a subconscious mind. Ethno-religions are good. That's nicely said. Meds now. I don't do meds. I don't have, I maybe vitamin C or something. The Fed can use AI to do a synopsis. There you go. I'm not sure he's smart enough to use that, but that was a low blow. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Fed. I love you. I hope you come over to the good side one of these days. God bless you all. Have yourselves a good night. Keep your feet on the ground and look up to the skies. And if you see any UFOs, let me know. We need to reconstruct the Pi religions and even some of the An religions. Can you please tell me what Pi and An stand for? And then I will be able to agree with you. If you're referring to like indigenous European religions, the answer is wholeheartedly yes. Anyway, Proto-Indo-European. Thank you. Well done. And very good. Pi, ha. All right. moving on. Have a great night, guys, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you next time.